film, moving image has changed our world and the way we interact. And it's really about this kind of cinematic space of people are now engaged with cinema so much and cinematic space that they'll go somewhere like the Grand Canyon and they'll stand on the edge and they'll have this awesome experience and they'll tell people it was just like a movie. So the way that we engage now in our everyday life is based on the framework of cinematic space. And does our life adhere to the narrative? And if our lives don't follow that narrative, we're in big trouble, right? And I think a lot of what performance art does is sort of take the veil off of that space or interrupt that narrative or allow people to see things that they don't know what they're looking at. They literally do not understand what they're looking at because it does not conform to the strict narrative of the cinematic space. Escapism usually sort of peaks out and becomes most popular during times of war. I would say right now, though, that we've somehow, at least in American cinema, we've really combined war and escapism into these incredible sort of war and violent fantasies, and where violence has become part of that language now in mainstream cinema. So it's not just that it's not escapism from violence. It's really an interesting hybrid now that I find really disturbing. I mean, the form of escapism I grew up with is really, about dancing in the streets. Much a closet performance artist when I was a kid. I was one of those kids that would put on the go-go boots and dance on the coffee table, and then when the family would come home, I would be really shy. And in fact, I was so shy that my mom, she took me to the doctor. And she said, what's wrong with my kid? Because I was the youngest of 6, and I was very, very shy, and I didn't like to play with other kids. I had a very rich internal world, and the doctor said, well, enroll her in dance class. Silver and Gold was a commission by Arsenal in Berlin, and people that are there at the archive invited artists and scholars to come and to be inspired by the work of Jack Smith. And so we all went to Berlin in March of 2009, and we watched a bunch of Jack Smith films, and I was completely jet lagged, and I sat through about 13 hours of Jack Smith films. And I wasn't exactly sure why I was there, but then after I saw his films, I got it. So lush, so rich in color, so much about people believing this creative and artificial space. I think a lot of artists feel this, and a lot of misfits, where it kind of adheres to that escapist fantasy film narrative, where you've actually been born to the wrong parents. You're actually in the wrong family, and at some point someone's going to come and they're going to discover you, and they're going to take you away, and you'll be at the rightful place. You'll be on your throne, right? And I think that is the story of a lot of misfits, particularly artists, and that was the stories that I saw in Jack Smith. So Maria starts off in this idyllic space of women's work, gathering honey in the forest, wearing ballet slippers. And she comes across this incredible costume in the woods, which is, this ridiculous sort of sequined outfit and this telescoping golden hat that was actually based off samurai swordsmen's hats. So she's become the queen of the forest, and she can command all the animals, she can command all the birds, but there's one hitch. Through the process of taking on this magic costume, she also has taken on a penis. And the penis, of course, you know, is interested because penis. There's always these things that represent penises, you know, like buildings and planes and bombs and those kinds of things. And I thought, well, why don't I use a penis to represent something else? So I was using the penis to represent this space of power, but also vulgarity, you know. So there's this place where this woman has this tremendous power, but she's also completely disgusted by her own body at that point when she sees the penis, and she tries to run away from it, but she can't run away from her body because you can't run away from who you are, right? And that's where we intersect back with the narrative of the Escapist film. You can't run away from who you are. But in the end, it turns out okay, because what happens is the penis turns into more of a magical penis that talks to her and is pink and glittery, and it's much more cute, and she can relate to it more, and then she can continue on her way with the magic dance, and we end up in the end with a kind of QVC commercial trying to sell silver and gold necklaces to the audience. It's all a big jumble. It's a filmformance, which is a term that I came up with to describe the idea of the film and coming out of that and creating a live event. So I wanted the film space to kind of create a bigger than life character, so that when I would emerge, that it would be like seeing a cinematic star, because when you see people that large and on screen, then when you see them up close, it's not that they're smaller, it's like they carry with them that largeness that's been created on screen. It's not so much that I'm creating this incredible special effects or these realistic sort of vantage points or really incredible, even beautiful, outlandish fantasies. It's more that the audience believes that I believe. It's not that they believe. For me, escapism is a completely positive space. It doesn't veer into the negative. To me, escapism is a necessary valve, right? And being delusional is one of the main ways that I've been able to carry on being a performance artist and actually having a career. Because if you see things exactly the way they are, it's very difficult to see other possibilities or alternate possibilities. And I think escapism has a very direct link to ideas of utopia, right? Utopia is this place that we can actually never get to. But I think with escapism, you can actually go there. You can actually arrive and be somewhere and engage that space. You can enter a place with your mind, and you can live there for a while, and you can experience relief from the drudgery of, you know, this capitalist oppression that we're engaged in, right?